Hello everyone, I would like to welcome you to another session of learning about our early Adventist heritage. Today we are going to be discussing about one of our early pioneers. In fact, her name was Sarah Lindsey, and she was the first woman to receive a license to minister. So now I'm going to tell you about the early pioneer, Sarah Lindsey. She was born Sarah Halleck in 1830, and she grew up on a secluded farm in northern Pennsylvania. She had no idea, as she grew up in that calm, peaceful valley, that far north of her, in Quebec, Canada, that one day she would unite her life with John Lindsey. There's not a lot told to us about his early years. We do know that he was a Millerite who actually went through the Great Disappointment of October 22, 1844, and was baptized a few years later by Joseph Bates as a Sabbath-keeping Christian. Well, Sarah, at the age of 27, attended some tent meetings, and she was so deeply convicted of the truth that she decided to get baptized. After she was baptized, she said, "I feel grateful to my kind, loving Savior, that I have a faith and a hope that reaches forward to a heaven that is, to a God that is, and to a Savior that is, and who is about to appear the second time." In the 1860s, John and Sarah were married. And by 1869, they actually had a dynamic preaching ministry that they did together. Now, during those times, it was kind of sad. They were noticing that a lot of the members and a lot of the leaders were forgetting about the commandments, and they were living their lives in such a way that was a dishonor to God. And so she wanted to reach them with God's transforming power. So she said, "I'm going to preach in the afternoon when we do our weekend meetings. I'm going to preach in the afternoon about the love and kindness of God." It didn't take very long, and pretty soon the New York and Pennsylvania conference leaders realized that she had a real call from God. And so she, along with scores of men, received a license to minister. She was the first Seventh-day Adventist woman to receive this. It was quite a distinction and an honor that she received this among all the men who received it as well. After receiving her license to minister, which allowed her to preach, to lead out in evangelistics, and in some business and committee sessions, she and her husband worked together. And it's interesting to note that he did not receive his license to minister until a few years after she did, but they worked as a dynamic duo together to reach the people with the love of God and his transforming power. And they would go from town to town in the western New York and Pennsylvania areas to reach these people. Well, one fall, Barnum and Bailey Circus had come to the town where they were holding some meetings, and they were sure that the attendance was going to fall because of the competition. But interestingly enough, they actually had more people in attendance at their meetings than at the Barnum and Bailey Circus, especially when it was Sarah who did the preaching. At 58 years of age, John asked the conference if they would change his job so that he didn't have as much work to do. He could slow down a little bit, but continue to minister. Unfortunately, 2 years later, he died of cancer. Now, of course, Sarah was distraught over losing not only her husband, but her preaching partner, the dynamic ministerial duo that they were. But she continued herself to work until she was 65 years of age. Now, it's interesting to note that she was not the only woman in our early Adventist heritage that received a license to minister. There were other notable names as well. There was Jenny Owen, Sarepta Henry, Ellen Lane, and Lulu Whiteman as well, who received the license to minister. I hope that you've been blessed by learning more about our early Adventist pioneers. Thank you.